I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we are talking about that journey we all take, the journey along the road of life. Anne Poole, an author, like the rest of us, has taken that journey as well, but she has taken the time to take a look back and write about what her life has been like and what brought her to this place. The name of the book is called Believe in Yourself. It's written by Anne Poole, and we'd like to thank her and the folks at Sweet Spire Literature Management for helping put Anne in the spotlight today. Anne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Logan.
I loved your book. For the folks at home, tell them a little bit what it's about.
Okay, it's a little bit about my life journey, as you said, and some of the ups and downs that happen to most of us in life. And I decided that I'd learned so much about myself, and I transformed myself from some difficult situations, that I wanted to share that with others to make it easier for them. I did lots of courses, lots of self inner work, and I thought if I can share that with people all in one book, it just means that they can, for nothing other than the cost of the book and their time, be able to progress themselves in life. So I wanted to share that.
Absolutely.
And I actually
go ahead.
I actually had a calling to write the book. So it was something that I just had to do. It was something that just occurred. I had actually found myself without a job. The company I was working for had been taken over, and they changed the base of the company to Sydney rather than Brisbane or further north, where I was living on the Sunshine Coast. And it just meant that my position became obsolete. So therefore I was retrenched. And it was kind of, what am I going to do with my life? And so I just had this big piece within me that this is an ideal time for me to start writing my book.
Absolutely. You had the time, you had the opportunity, and sometimes it's like one of those big kicks in the butt that we get from life that makes us reflect back on our life. I mean, losing a position you didn't expect to lose, being without your job, all that is a tough time. It makes you think about the road you've been on. And I think you've really beautifully looked back and tried to piece together how you got where you were, the person you've become, and how to find happiness in this life that can be difficult at times.
That's so true. Yes, definitely. Finding peace within myself, and just finding love of myself, accepting each situation as it occurs. Because often we'll say, oh, why me? Why is this happening? Whereas I've learned that it's often better to just accept the situation and say, well, these are the choices that I've made, and this has got me to where I am now. And okay, so let's work with this choice that I've made. Let's move forward, and which I did on many occasions.
Exactly. Part of your exploration was looking back at your relationship with your mother. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I never really had a very good relationship with my mother. And when I was in my 50th year, I had this epiphany that I'd been rejected. And by this stage, my mum had died. And just before she died, I went to visit her at the hospital. And even then, I went to kiss her and she just turned her head away and wouldn't kiss me. And I'm just going all goosey now, just thinking about it. And I thought, oh my gosh, and so she just didn't reject me in death, as I thought then. As I reflected in my 50th year, I realized I'd been rejected all my life. And so it was a really hard thing to come to terms with. But as I wrote the book, it was quite cathartic in many ways. I thought I'd processed so much, but then all of a sudden, that last little piece with my mum came through. And I realized that she had a very difficult life. My dad died when I was really young. And so she was a widow in a time when there wasn't a lot of support and acknowledgement of a single parent. And I think at that stage, I was able to understand she did love me, but she didn't know how to love herself. So when you don't love yourself, it's very, very difficult to love someone else. So I came to an inner peace with all of that. But it was a long time coming,
Yeah.
working through. And I did some tools like fast writing and just some exercises that I have in the book just to help progress me, because that was important for myself. And lots of relationships we have, but I think our mother and our father relationships are some of the strongest ones in our life, because they actually help form our belief system. And some beliefs, that my mum used to say, well, children should be seen and not heard. And so I used to just sit there and never question anything. And I had a curiosity, but I wasn't able to explain that to other people. I didn't open my mouth and ask the question. My mind was going, woo! And so I can understand some of the beliefs that she imparted to me. And it's been quite cathartic doing the whole work, but I'm very much at peace, and I know that I was truly loved by her. It's just that in many ways, the relationship was just not good.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it also is generational. I mean, her mother probably treated her coldly. She treated you coldly. It's funny, even the words I think we're roughly about the same age. And your mother said to you, children are to be heard, seen and not heard. I heard that all the time growing up. And it wasn't beyond my mother to give me a crack across the face if she didn't like the expression I had or what I had done or what I had said. I mean, it's just almost how they were at that era. I mean, my mother was affectionate towards me, and we did have a good relationship, but that was despite, getting hit, getting slapped, getting insulted, it was kind of a different way of the way we view children today.
Yes, very much so. Yes. I do write about one incident in the book when my mum tried to strangle me, and that was pretty sobering and horrifying at the same time. I was probably 18 or 19, 18 at the time, and that's abusive, but
Yeah.
she was at her wit's end. And like you say, Logan, it's really a generational thing. It's the beliefs that are passed down. And I felt, yeah, I'm not going to do that with my sons. I'm going to be very different. And I think that's when you really realize that you've changed, and hey, I can't go on like this. This is not my belief. It's not serving me. It's not supporting me. So I let it go. And I certainly had to do a lot of work about the physical abuse. It took a long time before anyone who touched my throat, I just cringe. But I'm fine with it now. But it's a process. And it just takes a lot of time and perseverance to know that I want something better in my life.
Right.
And what happened doesn't actually define who I am, or, it's a cross to bear. I can break free of that. I really believe that. And so I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great way of looking at it. And so many people don't put aside the hurts from childhood. I think you were wise to revisit them. I think you were wise to analyze it. And I think it was wise of you to forgive your mother and her shortcomings, because at one point in our lives, we become responsible for the person we've become. We had our 16 or 18 years with our parents, but now we've had another 20 years, and then maybe another 20 years after that. And after a while, who we become is on us.
I agree so totally about that comment, Logan. I certainly believe that we have the opportunity to change if we want to. And to really look at those beliefs that have been told to us, and some of them are very good. They form who we are, our character, our values. But there's other times when I think, yeah, I don't really believe this anymore. I might have as a child because I didn't have any other options. But
Right.
as an adult, I'm questioning, and I'm thinking there has to be something better than this. And there is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell me about your own children and what it was like, becoming a better parent. It's almost like being raised by an alcoholic where you decide not to drink. I decided never to insult my children because I was insulted a lot growing up because I didn't want to hurt them.
Yes.
So I think you either do the same or you do the opposite, I think, a lot when dealing with these childhood traumas.
Yes, that's a great comment. I definitely was very different with my sons. I actually love them unconditionally, and they know that they can come to me with anything that they've done and we can discuss it. And many a time my sons have called me upset about a certain issue and we start talking about it. But as a parent, I certainly gave time to them and I didn't dismiss them. And I was affectionate. Yes, I certainly gave them hugs and cuddles and kisses and formed a really strong bond with my sons. And I believe as mothers too that, you know, a lot of people say, you know, men, you know, this and men that. But I think as women and we're mothers, we need to make the changes with our own children to make them better people and to make them considerate of others. And I'm really proud to say I have two beautiful, loving sons who are in fabulous relationships with their wife and have children. And I can see my modelling has impacted them, how they're bringing up their daughters. And it's just so lovely to see. But I certainly was very aware of how was I going to bring up my sons. And certainly a lot of love and affection and communication and listening to them.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think you rewrite the scripts that are written for us in childhood?
Oh, that's a good question. How would I rewrite them? Oh, it's sometimes hard to know, Logan, because when we're young, what's going on in our head, we often cannot verbalize it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think as an adult, though, we need to think about, well, what will be the consequences? And I think it's the consequences. And no, every choice, every action has a consequence, be it good, bad, indifferent, but it has a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just listening to people and even to children, because often they have wise heads when they're very young. But I think unconditional love to me is one of the most important values, and just showing respect and helping them discover whoever they are, and just accepting that and helping them to accept themselves, no matter the situation. And I suppose communication is the big key.
Yeah.
Communication with children. It can be simple things that you speak to them about. It doesn't have to be in all the theory and the detail. It's just what they understand and progress it from there, because that communication develops and they then feel comfortable coming to you with whatever is happening in their life.
Absolutely. And as far as you rewriting the scripts for yourself, I think self-communication, self-talk is so important for you to say, no, these were the thoughts and ideas and beliefs put in my head by my mom, but this is how my life actually is, and this is how I actually am, and this is how my life should be conducted.
Yes, so true. In the book, I wrote about the emotional scales. And that was putting down the scales. Love is your highest one. That's when you're feeling powerful and joyful. And it's a really high vibration. Whereas when you talk about fear and you're feeling just powerless, that's a very low vibration. And just writing those, I had to really think, well, what are my values and what are the triggers for me? And I think there's about 19 of them in the book. But I had to sit with that and work through really the emotions and what is it that triggers me. And I found that a really good exercise for myself, and just working through, well, what are my triggers? But the scale of emotions, we all have them, whether we really have sat down and thought about it. But I think if you think about a situation that's really wonderful and you're passionate about it, your whole body is just alive and tingling. But then when you're in the depths, in the pit, when things are not going well and you're very fearful, you know that your vibration is really low. You can't do anything often because you're sort of in that depressed state. And all of us go through both those ranges. But it's just knowing, okay, I can move from here. And what is it that's causing it? And just looking at it. What are the triggers? What is the self-talk? What am I telling myself? How can I change this? And I think being positive, I'm a glass half full person, and so I'm always looking at the positive side of things. But that doesn't mean to say that I dismiss the negative. I have to look at it. I look at the spectrum. Not in every situation. I'm human. I race and think, oh, why did I say that? But I think it's just interesting that if we can just take a more balanced approach and look at it and work it through, we often feel better then. We can move forward.
Absolutely. Now, your book, of course, is your life story and a look back and the resolution of different conflicts that you had during your upbringing, but it's also kind of a workbook. You have some practical exercises at the end of each chapter. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yes, okay. So those, I call them action aces. And what I've done is summarize the chapter and putting in the salient points that will help you move forward. Maybe one of them could be just drinking water. A lot of us, we don't realize how much water we need to keep our bodies functioning. I start off talking about feeling unhealthy and gaining vitality, because to me that is, if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. So I've got little hints in there about maybe having, first up, having a cup of hot water with half a lemon squeezed in it. But then I've got other practical exercises in there about fast writing or about visualizations that might help move you forward. And I think one of the ones that I probably would love to share is about the breathing exercise, because often if we're feeling anxious, if we deep breathe, and it goes through it in there, in the book, it can really calm us and really still us. And we just focus on the breath only. And the more we do that, it really just helps take the chatter out of our head and we move forward. To me, it's one of the most simple exercises that I share with people. There's certainly about box breathing in there as well. If you're feeling anxiety, then you can definitely go through and do this. And it's amazing how it can calm you. And all of us at different times feel anxious. And I know in my coaching sessions with some of my clients, I often start, well, let's start with some breathing, and just to get away from their busyness of life and just get them centered and still. And we just focus on the breath. And so when you breathe in through your nose, you hold it, and then you breathe out through your mouth. And you're just watching that breath the whole time. And that, to me, is one of the most simple exercises people can do. And if you try it, you'll find that it's very, very calming. And if you repeat it about 3 or 4 times, then you've stilled your mind and you're ready to do whatever it is, be it at work or at home or a conversation that's a difficult one.
Absolutely. You have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. So a lot of those tips that you give at the end of each chapter and exercises are about self-care. I mean, if you're not being relaxed, if you're not properly hydrated, if you're not breathing right, you can't be your best self. And that's what basically this is about, how you can be your best self. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful guide. I also think the idea of deep breathing cannot be overstated, because particularly as you get older, you realize how essential it is to fill your airs fully with your lungs fully with air, and to, calm your heart rate, to lower your blood pressure, to find peace of mind. And you do find that with your deep breathing exercises.
Absolutely. I'm so pleased you reinforce that. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. And another thing that's very simple that I have in my action aces is taking cold showers. And I know that you're in a colder climate right at the moment, and you might go, oh, but certainly having a cold shower just for 10 seconds, particularly on your forehead and at the back of the nape of the neck, can actually remove negativity, and it actually gets all the blood circulating in your body. And if you think about, well, when I went for a swim recently and I came out of the ocean or out of the swimming pool, how did I feel? You feel wonderful because that water's washed all over your body. That's what cold showers do for you as well. And I've just found if I'm feeling a bit down, I'll jump in the shower, have a cold shower, come back out, and I feel amazing. So again, it's another little technique, another hint to help people move forward in however they're feeling.
Absolutely. The name of your book is Believe in Yourself. Why did you choose that as your title?
Good question. So when I first started writing, I I actually called it A Life Transformed. That was what my manuscript was, because I thought, I've transformed my life, so this is it. And I thought, oh, I'm going to write this book. So I thought, I can't really write a book. I've only written short articles. So I asked a couple of friends, would they help write the book and write a chapter about their transformation. And I found that I was spending 2 or 3 months actually talking to them, talking about, the copyright, the manuscript, who would make the final changes, the publishers and all of that. And I wasn't writing, I was doing all this liaising. And in the end, I spoke to a book publishing friend, and she said, well, just do it by yourself. And so I had to really believe in myself that I could write this book. So that's how the title came about. I had to believe that I could write the book, and I did, which I'm really pleased about. So that's where believe in yourself came through. And plus, I think just putting it out there, everyone wants to believe in themselves, because you're talking before, Logan, about that chatter that's in our head, that self-talk. And if we believe in ourselves, then we have that confidence to move forward. And that is what is so important in life, because what you focus on is what you actually attract. So if you're focusing on believing in myself, I can do it, you will do it. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I want the readers to realize that as well, that they can do it. It may not happen overnight, because we're changing beliefs and different things about ourselves. So it takes consistency. It just takes practice in anything that you do.
Absolutely. And you mentioned this briefly before, but visualization is an important tool, and you talk about it in your book.
Yes, I certainly do. And I've used visualization many, many times to move me from one place to another, and to just give me that confidence. And it's really about the mind, the visualization. It's what you can experience. And in the book, I talk about a particular one where you're actually expanding yourself and just going from a small distance around yourself, and just keep going until you're to the mountains, and then you're further around the globe, and then you're further into infinity, into space. And you can feel yourself changing with that visualization. Or the other thing is, if you're really wanting something in life, you visualize yourself already having that. Like, you look at some of the famous tennis players, I'm sure their coaches will tell them it's not just winning Wimbledon, it's actually winning and standing there, and then what you're going to do next. So it's not just that exact goal, it's even moving you further forward. So you're visualizing the end goal. Stephen Covey talks about always begin with the end in mind. So visualization is a little bit like that as well. It's looking at, well, what is the end? But let's go even further. But when you first start, just start with the end. What is it that I'm really wanting to achieve?
Right. No, it's very true. It's a powerful technique. I use it all the time. I'll be on a big audition for a film or a TV show, and I visualize the room. I visualize how I'm going to do my performance. I visualize their reaction, and it gets you comfortable. You start visualizing success. You tune out any negativity. You distress yourself. The power of visualization can't be overstated. And everybody from superstar celebrities to athletes to folks like yourself who are authors use the technique, and it's a great one. Tell me a little bit about your trip to the Antarctic.
Oh, that was just absolutely a lifelong dream. I'd always thought that I might go to Antarctica, and I thought I might just fly over it. But an opportunity came up for me to go on an icebreaker ship for 11 days. And I just took it. It wasn't cheap, but somehow the money came and I was able to go. I was just blown away by the serenity and by the ice, the formation of the ice, was the icebergs, and even just all of the cliffs around. But the scenery, all the different, the penguins, the humpback whales were amazing. I had one that was just sort of an arm's length away from me. And that was just an unreal experience, sitting in one of those little zodiacs. And it was one of those terrifying moments where, oh my gosh, if the whale was actually swimming underneath us and then coming up the other side, almost like playing peekaboo, and which was just amazing. But I'm terrified. I'm thinking, if this whale flips its fin or something, we're going to capsize, and in 5 seconds we'll have hypothermia. But then on the other hand, how wonderful is this? I could almost touch it. Not that I would, but I could see the barnacles on the whale, and I could see their one spiky hair coming out of each little thing on them. And I just thought, wow. So it was a dream come true, and I had such gratitude for this opportunity, and just the stillness and the peacefulness of being there was just amazing. And the people on board gave us lectures all about the Antarctic explorers and all about the wildlife. So it was quite educational, but it was just, I was so blessed. I was just so blessed to have that opportunity.
It just seems otherworldly. Like, it's so serene, it's so stark. It just seems like you're on a different planet when you're there.
Yeah. So have you been there, Logan?
I have not, only from watching documentaries and so forth.
Oh, right. Because when you said stark, that's a good description there. Because I'm looking for the trees, being a quite Australian girl, but no, it's not there. But it's just so beautiful in itself, and the colours of the water, yeah, the deep blues. But just seeing the seals and the orcas, for me it was just amazing, and the snow petrels, some of the birds, just beautiful, beautiful. And I love being in nature, and it was such a different nature.
Yeah. And it's nice that that's kind of like the capstone of your book, because you've come full circle to a person who had trouble with their mother while growing up, to the other, trials and tribulations that we have in life, to this wonderful life-affirming trip, a once-in-a-lifetime exploration. So I think it's just a lovely way to conclude with that story.
Thank you. Yes, I had such gratitude. Yes.
Wonderful. The name of the book is Believe in Yourself. It is written by Anne Poole. You can order it on Amazon. It is highly recommended. It's a delightful read. It'll make you question things about your own life. You might even start writing your own life story after reading it. You'll also find at the end of each chapter very helpful exercises that'll help you live your best life, just like Anne Poole is doing right now. And thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.